Hi, welcome to the Deep End, October 24th, 1 week from Halloween. Big holiday, I know, for Adam. So we have week 8 on the horizon. Week 7 just happened. More drama, more injuries, more confusion, and 1 week closer to when it starts to really pop here. Playoff weeks, high stakes, trade deadline stuff, and home leagues, all of it. We'll try to touch on everything and go team by team as we usually do, plus starting with a couple of interesting topics and things that are happening to our teams. Thanks for watching YouTube, Twitter at DeepEndFF1, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Mike and Adam, this is the Deep End. Let's go.
I've got my Halloween costume on, Mike. I got my Gibbs jersey, Gibbs week, Jameer Gibbs. I've been waiting to put this on since Vegas. Finally, 7 weeks in, I finally get to put it on, and I'm happy to do it.
How many jerseys do you own?
That's a good question. Usually, probably like 5 or 6. Usually, I get like the big fan. Like I've got my Josh Allen's my Bills jersey. Probably got like 3 of those. No, I'm not gonna lie, but I've got like Gibbs, Cooper Kupp, Garrett Wilson, like the guys that I want to invest, the guys that I'm heavily invested in. You know,
Pitts.
And Pitts, that's right. I'm the first person to ever own a Pitts jersey in the content industry. So yes, I'm happy to throw this one on.
If you're a jersey guy or gal, I love the idea of buying your team's MVP's jersey.
Yes.
After a season.
Yep.
And the first guy, at least in the modern era, the first guy for me for that was Cam Newton.
Oh, there you go.
And I had, not only did I have fantasy success through Cam Newton, but I also had bets on Carolina to win that division and win playoff games. And they went 15-1 that 1 year. They did not win in the playoffs, but I thought like I should get a Cam Newton jersey and frame it. Well, I didn't. I have Brooks Robinson, Tom Seaver, and Bob Gibson.
That's
and
right.
Other people, but I never actually followed through on that.
I should have a Lamar. I should have a Lamar and at CMC when I 2019 when I came in top 5 in the main event. It was Lamar and CMC. That was a year. That was fun.
You might want those guys this year.
That's right. That's right.
I got an interesting trade offer from a friend today, Andrew Filipponi, who hosts a FanDuel show for Odyssey and is on every day in Pittsburgh. I'm on every day in Buffalo. Andrew worked with us. One of my favorites. He and I talked today. He's off this week, and he said, I got an offer. Should I trade Cooper Kupp for Saquon Barkley? And I love your face right now. If anybody's listening, Adam is grimacing.
No.
And so my immediate thought was like, no. And so I called him. I was driving just out of the dentist. I called Andrew and I said, I'm gonna test myself here in front of you and everyone in the chat and watching. Here's why I don't do it. Lock in Cooper Kupp every week for the rest of the season. If he gets hurt, you can't control that. But then RB2, he has Bijan. RB2 that's where you sort of earn your stripes, grinding waivers and figuring out. I mean, every week it changes. Pierre Strong now might be a viable week 8 RB2. You saw what happened with Deontay Foreman, and before that, Chuba Hubbard, and on and on and on. I'm like, don't trade for Saquon Barkley unless it's a steal. Trade Jerry Jeudy.
Right, that's right.
For Saquon Barkley. Yeah. So how'd I do? Good advice?
Great, yeah. Great advice. I think you put that perfectly. Like, that's where you earn your stripes, is that RB2 spot, man. Unless you've again, I'm looking at a team here that we might talk about soon, but we have like ETN and Breece Hall. Like, unless you got a situation like that going on, that RB2 spot is every week is just somebody different. It was DeMercado, 2 weeks ago? Last week it wasn't. You could have started him this last week. Like, it's a different guy every single week. Darrell Henderson this last week. Come on.
Henderson. It's hard to know who it's going to be. It's very hard to actually nail that. But, we're still 7 weeks away from home league playoffs.
Yeah.
And so much will still change between now and then. Some guys who are on IR Damian Harris could be a league winner for all we know.
Right.
So that's what I told him. So I'm glad to hear you corroborate that. You want to show, we didn't actually plan on this, but that ETN Hall team, is that our Fantasy Pros team?
That's our Fantasy Pros team. Yep.
I'd like to talk about that with you. Adam and I hardly talk anymore.
We're so,
So this is our chance.
this
We
is our
need our own
time.
Discord or something. This is our personal time as well as show time. We have not really talked strategy in a few weeks. Life's going too fast. But this team is 6-1, first place, right?
Yeah, let's take a quick peek at that. Yeah, 6-1, I think we are. Yep. But Will Wilford way back in second place there. Go Bills.
He has more points than us, so be careful. But this was a streamed draft. This is
Yeah.
This is like, I don't know, July maybe. You see first and 15. Look at the top four. Hang on.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
This is a summer. We're all bored. Throw in some money. Let's draft on stream, and we'll do it together. Look at the top four teams.
Deep end duo. Go Bills / Will Wilford. First and 15. That's Abib Agbatoba and his crew. Dr. Agbatoba and the GOAT District. Look at the top four. That's incredible. That's so
sorry, JD and company. You don't have a playoff spot right
yeah,
now.
I mean, come on. Be better.
Look at that. That's super. I love this one.
Yeah, for sure.
So who do we have?
So this is ETN Brees Hall. Again, kudos to you. I was not on ETN this year, but he's been sensational. Brees Hall, Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, a guy I didn't see top 15 coming. Tua at quarterback. Pittman's complaining about getting the ball. He's still a top 14 fantasy receiver. Sounds good to me.
Adam, this team had Richardson too.
Oh, of course it did. Why wouldn't it?
Because I made fun of myself. I bet Downs is on this bench.
It is.
I made fun of myself for like drafting only Colts after round 10.
Yeah, it's Devin Achane. It's Downs. It's got some life. It's got Jonnu Smith's a top 10 tight end, along with Andrews, who's coming on. So
we started Zeke this week.
I saw Zeke. I pulled this up before we got on. I saw Zeke in the lineup, and I immediately puked in my mouth and got him out immediately.
You wouldn't show
immediately for Brees Hall. I couldn't even look at it anymore.
You wouldn't show it. So that's a good question for everybody in these things. When do you turn your lineups? Like, I have a buddy that I run a team with, Mark Miller, and it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's last in the league in points, but it's one game out and it's still live. So he sends, it was great. He sends me a text today. How is this team 4-3? And it's gross.
Yeah.
But like if I'm going to look at it, I got to put CD Lamb back in. I got to put the guys who are on bye back in, because that's not the real team. Like it's not good.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to make it good, but this is basically the worst. I think, and I have a name in mind for this, but I don't want to say it. I think there are people who intentionally wait to start to change their lineups, like maybe Sunday morning, as late as you can. You look at matchups and you see teams with an empty slot, and you're like, oh, are they going to know that somebody's on bye or somebody's hurt, whatever? And I think maybe some people think it's sort of a possibly plus EV move to wait until the end to flip it. I just sometimes, panic and think I'll forget.
Yeah, I do it when I'm doing waivers. So tonight I'll start looking at teams that need, waivers and stuff like that. Now there's no bye weeks this week, right, which we love. There ain't no bye weeks, but now that the starting lineup gets a little bit tougher when you don't have bye weeks. So, but yeah, that's when I start to look at it, turn it over, look for what who we're going to pick up in waivers and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I saw Zeke and I'm like, oh God, gross.
I can't show this.
I can't show this at all.
Adam, week 8, I keep thinking about our friends at Go Bills, Nick, Dom, and Sean, who, because they were well back after qualifying for the sprint last year, ran Jerick McKinnon and Zay Jones into their lineup in week 15, and they each scored 3 touchdowns. Oof. And won it. I mean, they won it like that because nobody was starting those guys and they had them. And so, other people have said and known this. There's a certain time of year where you're sort of evaluating the depth on your bench and bye week math and everything, and trying to figure out who are the guys that I'm going to need later. And that depends on your record too. If you're this 6-1 team, you and I might want to be a little bit aggressive, sort of planning ahead, and that means uncomfortable cuts.
Yes.
So what is your feeling here? Is we're still not yet halfway through the season, but is it time to be sort of thinking about those playoff weeks already?
Yes, and I think when you the luxury you have when getting off to those 6-1 starts and all that type of stuff is to be able to do that, to be able to look down the road, see matchups, strength of schedules, quarterback type stuff. Because a lot of times we're streaming quarterback, like in this, all we have is Tua in this league. So we got to start looking, hey, Tua's bye is week 10. We also are going to want 2 quarterbacks at least for the playoff run. What are we going to do there? We're probably going to want two kickers, stuff like the defense maybe. So yeah, I think the uncomfortable cuts, and the team like this, we've got a Treylon Burks. We've been holding on to him forever and ever. I'm the never drop a running back ever guy, so I usually don't want to touch them. So now we've got Tutu Atwell, who had like 2 targets and scored. We got Jalen Hyatt, who's coming on. So yeah, I mean, there's going to be cuts to be had, and I think I don't think you need to force it in week 8. I don't think you need to force it, but I think if there's something there, then you can certainly make a push, because you'll find random leagues where there's guys like Josh Downs. I don't know if I think we probably drafted him because we had Richardson.
Yes.
But I picked up Josh Downs in some leagues across all the formats last week or the week before that, and I was happy to have him. I spent a ton to get him, but it's like you'll find guys like that all the time.
Love that. And it's sort of even more difficult because if your team is good, you're probably deeper and you're cutting better players than the 3 and 4 team will be cutting. Usually the teams that are, not as successful, it's maybe easier to make cuts. Let's talk about the Deep End Invitational.
Yes.
Through 7 weeks. Michael Leone at 2 hats, 1 mic. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Fighting a cough for like at least a week.
Yeah.
Was in the lead for the last 3 weeks, but again, here they are. Nick, Sean, and Dom into the lead. Go Bills. The 2-time defending FFPC main event winners have gone in front in the Deep End Invitational. Those of you watching can see a very easily color-coded chart. The teams that are highlighted in yellow lead their division, and the team or teams highlighted in blue are a co-host on the Deep End. And guess what? I am not in the top 10.
I just want to point something out. I don't think people realize. So, like, again, the Deep End Invitational is a tournament. It's a single entry tournament where we invited the best of the best fantasy football players and analysts to come and compete against each other. Is it 4 leagues, 5 leagues? 4 of the absolute best. And Go Bills is in for, like, I don't think people realize, like, because it's like we're friends with them. We hang out, we watch games, we go to they're like the best fantasy players like in the world. I mean, they won the main event back to back, and now they're in first place in this competition with all of the best players in the entire world. Dwayne McFarland, Louis G, who's on fire this year. John Scuderi.
Second in Best Ball Mania through 7 weeks.
That's right. Top 10 in Best Ball Mania. John Scuderi, who's won the main event. Bit Mandel. Everyone knows him. He's a stud. Joey Brown won a ton of money in high stakes. Like, Chad Schroeder at 4, the best high stakes player ever. Like
Dwayne.
I mean, it's like, and they're in first again. Like, these guys they should put out content. You know what I mean? I'm just wink, wink, hint, hint. They should put out, or not, or keep it all themselves and win everything. But,
well, let's take a look at their week 7.
Okay.
When you have that ready, there it is. So they're on the right here, and we'll just look at their team, and maybe you can find their secret or just like what's worked out. Now, this is Best Ball, and FFPC, of course, automatically, as does Underdog or any Best Ball site, elevate your top scorers for the week. This is week 7.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson has been great this year. Mostly. Gus Edwards had an 80-yard catch that was not a touchdown.
I didn't
what
see
were
the
air
play,
yards on that catch?
I didn't see the play, but I'm like, wait a minute. How does that happen? How is that possible?
So you're looking for like Edwards was behind Dobbins, but he's been efficient in his career and, fine. Ramondre Stevenson had a play late and sort of salvaged his day with a big 34 or so yard catch against the Bills. JSN, that was only really a first half.
Yeah. Taysom Hill. Unbelievable.
Myers, Waddle, Hawkinson, really good. Taysom Hill, Jones, and Njoku on the bench. Purdy, Stroud on by. Achane awaits. Mostert wasn't even used. And CeeDee Lamb. So it's no fluke. It's no fluke.
No, it's no fluke. I mean, week to week, and that's the best ball. And I see things like Taysom Hill in the lineup, and it reminds me of every week when I'm chasing Chad. Of course, again, I'm 7th overall. I'm chasing Chad in our league again, and every week it's like he gets a Taysom Hill, or he gets a random bottom of, like, his last pick will pop in for 16 and keep him ahead of me. And that's what you need in best ball. You need those random spike weeks, for sure, to kind of keep those things going.
You want to look at the board really quick there? I just
Yes.
kind of moved off of that live scoring page, but they're at team 5. Jackson, quarterback 5 at 5. So get your quarterback. Lamb, Waddle,
super flex for those watching, obviously.
Super flex. 2 running backs in the first 12 rounds. Popular strategy. Then it comes in Pirine, Mostert, Achane. Okay, and Gus.
Yeah,
that's what winning looks like.
That's what winning looks like. I mean, their top 2 running backs haven't even been their guys, right? It was just take 2, and then Achane hits and Mostert hits. It's what you need, and excellent. Yeah, no, they're in good shape, and they're healthy, right? Like, they're in good shape and healthy, and they'll be fine. They'll be good.
First overall wins a main event ticket next year. Every other division winner wins a Fantasy Pros ticket next year. Invite only. It's been fun. Shout out to Cody Carpentier at 101. Took Richardson and was in the lead early this season, but now has lost Richardson, and that's going to be a problem for many of us. Yes. Really sad too. Like, he's the worst injury of the year in fantasy.
I know.
If not in NFL, like, just it was so good already. Like, I know. Right away, it was so good, but
I know.
Learn how to fall, I guess.
I know. And the other point I want to make on that too is, we were worried, like, hey, if because we were like, hey, if Richardson hits, the other skill guys won't hit. It'll be all Richardson and his running, which was kind of right. But they've been able to come in here and still get Taylor involved now, and Pittman still get, even though he doesn't think he is, he wants more, but he's a top 15 receiver still. Like, Downs. Like, they're able to still get those guys the ball. So it almost went from, like, you either wanted Richardson or you wanted the skill guys. Richardson hit, he's gone. Now you want the skill guys. And so I think the Colts are still winning there.
That's right. I stayed away from Jonathan Taylor in drafts because I thought I liked the idea of Richardson. He was going to play week 1. All signs pointed to that. And so there are my touchdowns. But really, you're right. Everything has worked. Moss became Taylor. But the Tennessee game with Richardson at quarterback, I think Moss did great.
Yeah.
And then you had, the game they were losing to the Rams, maybe 22-0. Richardson brought them back with Pittman, with passing.
Yeah.
So it was really, like, better than Jackson. I mean, Jackson, I'm a Lamar Jackson apologist and have been for many years. The first year, it was just like his running was it, and you had to ride that, and you could. The second year, he won the MVP, like his first full season. Led the league in touchdown passes, but at the beginning it was not really there. Richardson, it kind of was. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't for Fields. It really wasn't for Jackson. It really was for Richardson with that coach.
Yeah.
That coach, Adam, they scored 38 points.
I know. On the Browns.
Cleveland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that is really interesting. And I've always been a Minshew guy too. So
yeah, it's fun.
Too bad they lost.
That's right.
Okay. Let's do our traditional team-by-team analysis, just one storyline at least from each team. Some teams are too obvious. We'll just skip them because we now have less than 42 minutes to do 32 teams. And before we even start, brought to you by PlayerProfiler.com. Here's a word from our sponsor.
Hey, we're all starting new fantasy leagues all the time. And more often than not, where do we start our fantasy leagues at Player Profiler? On Sleeper. Because it's the best. You can imagine my excitement when I saw Sleeper rolled out. Sleeper picks, baby. And game stacking is the path to positive returns with these pick'em games. Find that sneaky shootout and set most of the players to go over their projection for that week. Or you find a game going to get dragged into the mud and take every member of the passing game for less than their projections that week. And if you pick up to 8, that's how you 100x your payout on Sleeper. It's called the Hail Mary. So if you use promo code Underworld, you get a $100 instant deposit match. Check out Sleeper's terms and conditions for details. These Sleeper picks are live in over 25 states. Yeah, buddy.
Okay, listen, I want to say something quick. This is probably not the way to do it, but I love on Monday Night Football knowing what I need for certain season-long games and hedging it with props against or for the guys. Like, I always do that. It's a terrible way to probably do it, but it's kind of a way to hedge. It's kind of a way to hedge like a player that you need to go off or not need to go off or whatever.
I'll pretend I didn't even hear this. Betting against yourself is not my vibe. That's very anti-deep end in my opinion, but you are in seventh deep end invitational. So.
I'll cut. I'll edit that out.
Yeah, we'll cut that in post. Let's go team by team. Only one way to do it. AFC, NFC, East, North, South, West, alphabetical. Always first. The Buffalo Bills. Maybe the most sort of pivotal development with the Bills is Dawson Knox's injury and what that means for Dalton Kincaid. I really don't think there's much to say about that. Kincaid is a slot receiver. There are 3 others on that team. Best game of his career, 8 for 75. I'm wondering, Adam, and you may have thoughts on Kincaid, I'm sure you do, about Gabe Davis at this point. Has the evolution of the offense sort of rendered Davis unstartable? What's your feeling on him at this point?
Man, I don't think he's unstartable. I think he's like a wide receiver 4, wide receiver flex, depending on. It's just, we're obviously engrossed. We're both in the Buffalo area. You talk Bills every day on the radio. They're obviously my team, and so we're like more in depth on the actual offense. But I mean, there's questions of what does the offensive coordinator want to do? What does the head coach want to do? What does the quarterback Josh Allen want to do? Is there miscommunication? Like, what's going on? Josh is like, hey, we need to get big play Gabe more involved than just big plays. But it's like, I don't think he's ever open. So I don't know how you're going to do that. I think Gabe, fantasy wise, if you have 3-4 good receivers, if you started 0 RB or hero RB, you probably cannot start Gabe Davis because you got 3 or 4 really good receivers. But I think there's some spots you can start him. You just don't know. He's like a best ball guy at this point. He's either touchdown or he's nothing.
I was at the dentist today. Thank you, by the way. Yes, I'm keeping my teeth clean. I'm having help. Well done. And I'm in line to pay my bill. I told the story on WGR today behind an elderly woman who my receptionist is hygienist is to my right to tell the receptionist what I owe. And she's at the desk, and the woman ahead of me just randomly, there's 4 people in the room, randomly says, "You guys see the Bills game?" Like that. She had to be in her 70s. And my hygienist smiled at her and yes. And this woman says, "They suck." Like that. And so then it was just sort of a tirade about coaching and a couple of players, and just, we just sort of let her see herself out. And I turned to my hygienist and I said, "My workday just started early."
That's right.
I mean, it's not safe to go out in Buffalo.
No,
right now. I mean, they're 4-3. They're top 5 in the league in scoring.
Yes.
They've won 40 of their last 60 games at least. But, they lost one, and they almost lost another one. I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying there aren't issues. It's just like,
I know.
It's exhausting to listen to the theories and the doom, the doom saying.
I think the one thing that fantasy wise would be great, and I think the one thing that you can absolutely point to, again, like you said, they're top 5 in score. They still scored 25 points on the road, missed another field goal, had a phantom penalty, had a touchdown called back. Like, they're there. They're fine. Josh Allen isn't running as much as he has in the past. He's still QB1, by the way, in fantasy. But he's not running as much as he did. That's the big thing that they're doing differently from the past, because they want to keep him healthy and all that stuff. Fine, whatever. But that's the big difference. So I think the only boost they can really do right now with the talent that they have is just have him run more. But
I bet he breaks one Thursday night against Tampa, because they're hearing it.
Yeah,
and I'm not sure they're all on the same page there. And Allen is the guy with the ball in his hand. Right. No one's benching Josh Allen, but here I am saying don't.
Yeah.
Okay, Miami with their loss to Philadelphia. I want to talk about Jalen Waddle, wide receiver 42, but trending up a little bit. How confident are you in Waddle?
I'm always confident in starting these Miami players. I mean, again, No, okay. No one's talking about the Miami offense. I mean, how many points did they score offensively? 10 in that game, right? 10 points. You had you didn't have Achane there, but you had Mostert who couldn't get anything going. He had like negative 10 rushing yards in the first half almost. But no, I'm fine with them. I trust them. I trust them. Waddle was in and out of the game with back issues. Tyreek always in and out of the game with cramps and all that type of stuff. They're fine. They're going to score their points. You've been disappointed so far with Waddle, but all those guys in the second round, a lot of those receivers, second, third round, you've been disappointed with.
I think we can skip one here. The Jets are next, and New England is actually next. Never mind, New England. Kendrick Bourne, Waddle, wide receiver 42. Kendrick Bourne, wide receiver 28. Is it sticky?
I think so. I mean, they keep going to him. He's got kind of a random wide receiver 5 finish, wide receiver 47, wide receiver 9, wide receiver 9. So he's kind of been up and down. But he's probably a wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 moving forward. You're probably not going to start him when there's no bye weeks, but he's a nice bye week filler, injury filler. But again, with that offense, the ceiling isn't near what it is with they scored 29 points against the Bills. That's the most points they've had since week 9 of last year. That's how many they scored more points against the Bills than they did the 3 previous games combined. So right. I just don't like that offense.
Jets can be quick. Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. Next question.
Yes, that's it.
That's it. Jets and Giants this week. Baltimore. Ready? Are you sitting down?
Uh-oh.
Give me Rashad Bateman.
Ooh.
Okay. Everybody's done. First round pick 2 years ago. He's playing behind Beckham and Aguilar. I mean, he's playing behind some geriatrics. They're running so well. I mean, Zay Flowers, of course, Andrews, of course, Jackson, of course. Maybe the Ravens make a move and just sort of push in, and Derrick Henry or DeAndre Hopkins is on this team. I mean, that could happen if Tennessee wants to dump it. And other teams might do the same thing, Denver. But I still want to believe in Bateman a little bit. Had a couple of plays in this game. I think he's somebody that they should want to get there with. And Aguilar isn't, and even Beckham isn't. So if you can take Rashad Bateman off waivers, he's on waivers in FFPC leagues.
Yes.
He's been cut.
Yep.
He could be what Zay Jones was to Nick and Dom and Sean.
Yes.
Bateman could be for you.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, because I'm the don't ever cut a running back guy. So this last week I was, hey, got to pick up running backs. We had Darrell Henderson's, all these different situations. Like, all right, well, I guess it's time to go. Bateman, yeah. But so he is on waivers. But again, man, when this offense, it's crazy with the Ravens because I feel they had an insane explosive game this week, looked incredible, blew the Lions out. Everything finally went right for them. I feel like they've had these type of games before where guys are dropping touchdowns, guys are getting hurt, guys are dropping balls. When everything's clicking, man, this offense is explosive and really fun to watch. And you can usually tell early on when Lamar's feeling it, everyone's feeling it, you can tell that they're going to have a monster game. You're right. Bateman could be like that Zay Jones, where he just kind of is a late guy coming on during the year, get him healthy. I still think he's probably third on the depth chart. I mean, Zay Flowers has been playing so well. He's so locked in with Lamar, and then there's Mark Andrews as well. So he's still number 3, but that's what Zay Jones was last year.
Bengals. So Nick Chubb with Cleveland and Montgomery twice with Detroit and Aaron Jones in week 1. I mean, we're always losing running backs. Kyren Williams. Mixon has held up. I have teams with all 3 of the other running backs with the Bengals, and that's the injury luck of fantasy football because you haven't ever once come close to starting Travion Williams, Chris Evans, Chase Brown, but that doesn't mean they won't be relevant. Mixon is old. He isn't good. So there's still, you got to pick which one. And I like Brown, the rookie. I'll go for the younger guy with that, against guys who've sort of proven what their ceiling is. So Chase Brown is, for me, somebody to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I've got Chase Brown on teams. I don't have a lot of Joe Mixon, but I definitely have more Chase Brown than I do Mixon. Yeah, you're just holding those guys, especially in those offenses that are pretty good. And they like to use one back. So if Chase Brown gets the Joe Mixon role, if Joe Mixon goes down, I think he'll be in RB2.
Along the same lines, best ball darling Pierre Strong could be
Yeah.
relevant for Cleveland, playing behind Kareem Hunt. Hunt's not 100%. He's old too, and also not good at all.
Right.
Chubb is gone, and now Ford is out at least a week. So Pierre Strong is another name for week 8.
Definitely. A low ankle sprain for Ford, which is good news. But yeah, Hunt hasn't looked good either. He's just getting the touches. I think you're right there. I'm Pierre Strong.
Can we all agree for once on how colossally annoying the Pittsburgh Steelers are? Thank you. Yes.
Yes.
Just like, what an annoying team. They're going to win 9 or 10 games again. Look at their schedule. Look at their home games. I mean, you couldn't draw it up much better than what they have. George Pickens, impressive against the Rams. I mean, Deontay Johnson is back in a tougher matchup, but Pickens got there. Like, is he an every week starter?
Probably, again, wide receiver 3, maybe even low end wide receiver 2. But speaking of the receivers, we got a question: are the 2 Steelers wide receivers the same going forward? Like, are they both like wide receiver 3s? They're both wide receiver 2s. I mean, Deontay comes back and immediately gets a bunch of targets. I'm still Deontay Johnson over Pickens. I still, this is Deontay's like first game of the season, really. Still hasn't scored in like 2 years. I'd like to see him get in the end zone, but I mean, Pickens has the talent. If he can keep his head on and run some of those, in breaking routes in the middle of the field that are more valuable than just these fade routes and stuff like that, I think he can be fine.
Was he the receiver? Did you watch the end of that game? Was he the intended receiver on the pass interference penalty?
I didn't see the end of the game. No.
It's literally pass interference, game on the line, and there was no touching at all. I mean, every passing play is that enough touching?
Right.
On this one, he made a move, and the receiver the DB sort of missed him and put his arm out and missed him completely, and a guy threw the flag that was basically deciding the game.
Yeah.
I mean, it was gross. I saw 3 or 4 calls this week that were why am I living this life?
I know. The refs have been really bad. But real quick, too, Deontay Johnson comes back to 86% route participation, 26% target share. Pickens had a 35% target share. So as long as it's like funneled into both of them, I think they can both do really well.
Are they the same? Maybe in terms of ultimately total points, but they're all more the opposite.
Right.
Like, if you want ceiling, it's got to be Pickens.
Yes.
Johnson gets all this credit for target share. Everything is short.
Yeah.
There's a reason why he never scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
So Pickens is like, I mean, he's had the reason they beat Baltimore is the George Pickens play. So I'm encouraged by this Ram game, and I feel like he's a little bit safer. I benched Pickens in a couple spots this week. Just like, I don't know, is it going to be 2 for 50 or 0? I mean, just what? But that was a nice day for him in a close game.
Yes.
I like Johnson fine, but I like Pickens at least as much. Houston, Devin Singletary. Where are we at here? Dameon Pierce is good, isn't he? But he's not producing, and then Singletary's maybe moved ahead of him their last game.
I mean, Pierce is good, but I think we talked about, like, I feel like everything. Everything's so difficult for Pierce. Like, everything looks so difficult. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen. I think like Ian Hartitz tweets a lot about, like, he'll have like 2 players scoring 1 fantasy point, and it's like Pierce breaking 7 tackles and like another guy catching a 1-yard pass out of the backfield. Right. I think that's Pierce is always everything's so difficult for him. Went into a bye week, come out of the bye week. Let's see there. But you obviously want to own Singletary. You want to own all these running backs. People are talking about picking up Singletary on waivers this week. Like, I can't even do shows for like home leagues. Like, pick up Singletary on waivers. Like, point me to the spot where Singletary is on waivers. But yeah, you want to own all these backs. I don't know what they're going to do in the backfield yet. Let's see what they do coming out of the bye week.
Well, maybe 2 weeks ago, but I've seen Singletary a lot on FFPC. Maybe that's dried up. I still don't care.
What do you mean?
I mean, just CJ Stroud losing game scripts, I think, are still likely for much of Houston's schedule. Collins and Dell and even Schultz, fine. Pierce, I just think, is better.
Oh, he is better for sure.
Yeah. The question is whether that matters and what the Texans think.
That's right.
So Singletary was PFF's worst graded receiving running back. I don't know. I never want to have to start him. I mean, I
Me either.
liked him fine. I defended him for most of his career with the Bills, but I never want to have to start him. And how much value is there in picking up somebody that you really just never want to have to start? Indy, we did the Colts. Downs is the guy.
Yep.
That's fine. Let's move ahead to Jacksonville. What about Calvin Ridley at this point? Are you optimistic or pessimistic for Ridley rest of season?
I'm pessimistic. I mean, I had Jack Colsheen on another show of mine a couple weeks ago where he had like, hey, he's a guy that's going to be in the downward direction. And, his target share has been going down. His route participation has been going down. And again, he's running these like fade routes. They don't, and I think I tweeted last week during the game, like they don't want Calvin. It's like the coaches don't want that type of player, those type of routes to be successful. They want him to, like Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, like those guys are running the routes that Trevor Lawrence likes. Another thing too is they didn't give up much I don't think to get Ridley. It's not like they paid him a ton of money or gave up major draft picks for him. Like, oh, you're going to give him to us for next to nothing. Okay, we'll take him. And I just don't think it's there for him right now. They're a very open offense too, where they've got all these different. ETN can catch the ball. They've got Zay Jones has been out too. That's the thing. Zay Jones has been out, and Ridley is struggling. So man, when Zay Jones gets back, it's like good luck. I don't have a lot of Ridley, but the spots that I do, man, I'd start Downs over him at this point. Like there's just Ridley's got to show me something.
At Pittsburgh this week, then the bye. I'm a little bit higher than you. I'm not looking to trade for him exactly, but I think the story on Ridley's 2023 is yet to be written. Tennessee traded an all-pro safety, basically gave Kevin Byard to the Eagles. There's more happening there. This is going to be, I think, it's possible, even I want to say almost likely, that this is going to be like sort of a record year for trade deadline moves in the NFL with many teams, the Titans, the Broncos, others who are just sort of drawing dead. And next year's quarterback class is considered so good. Analytics seeping more and more into sports. I say that in a good way. I mean, tanking is obvious. It's been obvious to people who sort of look at the whole board for more than a decade. Yeah. Football is the last sport to get to everything. So the Titans could very well trade Henry and Hopkins.
Yeah.
I don't know about quarterback. Levis and Willis, even starting this week, Tannehill should not play another game for them. Trade him to be a backup somewhere, even for a fifth.
Jets, come on. Is he better than Zach Wilson? Maybe not.
Maybe, but even if it's like the Chiefs, just dump him. You don't need him anymore. The guy that this opens up for is Tyjae Spears.
Yes,
and he might be good. So you could see a lot of volume there, and maybe some big potential with Spears if Henry is moved, or even if he's not, in case there's an injury or just you sort of shut it down before the season's over.
Yeah, it'd be great if Henry got moved. Well, it'd be great for Tyjae Spears. It'd probably be pretty good for Henry too, because that O-line's terrible. Like, he could probably do better on less touches on a better team, but it's going to ruin another backfield. So we'll see.
Denver beats Kansas City this week.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
That's just how it works?
That's the NFL. The Chiefs have been playing mostly close games. They've won 6 in a row. Denver's getting better defensively. Sean Payton at home against the Chiefs, 19-8 loss the first time. Javonte Williams, his best game yet in week 7. Cortland Sutton is not irrelevant at this point. So I don't know how many points they score, what you do for fantasy. McLaughlin's a kind of a nice story. Not much else has really worked out yet, but
I'd love to see Judy get traded. You're talking about quarterbacks in the NFL draft. It's also supposed to be a sweet draft for receivers too. So maybe you get a team like Denver trades Judy and they end up, drafting somebody else. Judy can kind of move on. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Javonte Williams, best week as of, knees looking better and better. The problem is it's a 3-headed backfield there. P. Ryan's just got to hit the road, man, because, I love McLaughlin there for sure. He gets Javonte gets a season high in rushing attempts with 15, pass routes with 13. So we need to make this a 2-man backfield.
Chiefs at Broncos. So if you click on, there might be, let's say out of 50 fantasy football Twitter accounts or websites, you click on 50 of those with advice for what to do going forward. Is it 49 they will tell you to pick up Rashee Rice, or is it all 50? Like everybody sort of agrees. Oh, Chiefs, everybody agrees. Everybody agrees.
Yeah.
That you want Rashee Rice. I don't think the ceiling is that high. I don't think he'll explode. I still think the Chiefs want to throw the ball to lots of different guys. That's their MO. Kelsey, if you're going to do what LA did and leave him wide open all day, which I can't even believe would be possible anymore, then you just take that. But I like Rice. You and I have him, starting him here and there. So far, so good. But I don't think there's like a lot more out there.
How do you leave Rashee Rice open all day and Travis Kelce has 12 catches? Like someone explain. And I'm not complaining because Kelce saved my week. Not saved my week, made my week this week. But yeah, I think people are excited because Rice is getting he's got 65% route participation. Now we've got Justin Watson was sidelined. I think didn't they just have a receiver get suspended? Ross. So it's kind of opening up there for him. Patrick Mahomes' targets are obviously worth more. So he's clicking there. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster, who stinks, last year was on the team and he was overall wide receiver 18 before he got hurt. And his season was kind of curtailed there. If Rashee Rice if he can be wide receiver 18, I think you're doing great because you probably drafted him as like wide receiver 70.
No, that's fair. Their season is just coming too easily this year for me to think there's a high ceiling for a receiver. Maybe you want me to be right and they lose to Denver this week to make it a little bit tighter, but it's all going their way. Their defense is way better this year too. So Pacheco is catching the ball. Pacheco is better for fantasy, if not for the sort of a bigger role in the Chiefs offense. I don't know. Like Rice is fine. I get why everybody's saying the same thing, which is usually what happens in fantasy discourse, which is like, oh, here's what we've all figured out is the right move. But I just wouldn't want people to think Rashee Rice to the moon.
No,
because I don't see it.
I don't think so.
Raiders, Josh Jacobs is RB15. Everybody's wondering what's going wrong, like what happened to last year's Josh Jacobs. I don't know that answer. Offensive line, is where I would start. Maybe he's just like hit the cliff. I'm not analyzing it that closely, but you're still playing him, right? If RB15 on volume, he's getting all the work.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like, as long as he stays healthy and gets the volume, he'll be fine. RB15, he was probably drafted around, I don't know, maybe RB12, something like that at the 2-3 turn. You're definitely starting him, but a lot of it before we had before PFF was around, back when I was first started playing fantasy, they would talk a lot about like running back carries and touches in the following year. Like there was I forget what it was. It was like a 320. Every running back that had 320 touches the following year, they dropped off by 40% and stuff like that. And that might be a Josh Jacobs thing this year, man. They just beat him into the ground so bad last year that he's healthy and he's active, but he just doesn't have what he used to have because they beat him up so bad. So, and it's the Raiders too. Their offense stinks. Their quarterbacks have been in and out. So, but you're still starting him. He's an RB2.
Is his fifth year, Jacobs?
They just signed him, right? Or they
signed him, franchise tag, and then eventually signed him. Okay.
Jacoby Myers is the cool story there. He's the guy who comes over from New England, and he looks incredible, and he's heavily involved. It's not good news for Devontae Adams, but for the Jacoby Myers teams, it's great.
Quarterback an issue there, of course.
Yeah.
Chargers, Josh Palmer is happening. I wouldn't even say he was that hotly debated in the summer. Most people just dismissed Josh Palmer. Not that good at football than Quentin Johnston, but if you went there on Palmer, good for you.
Yeah, Quentin Johnston, 69% route participation. He's not earning targets, 13% targets. I said coming out of the bye, if he doesn't get heavily involved, it's probably over for him this year. And people, it's too early. And I'm like, nah, he might just not be that good, or he's a developmental receiver and it's not going to happen for him this year. Palmer looks great. There's something's off with Herbert. I wrote a start sit article last week, and I had Herbert as a sit because it's just he seems off, and again he's got enough weapons there. It's just not clicking. He seems to never make the big play when they need it. And so I don't know, his stats with Big Mike and without Big Mike are night and day.
NFC, less than a minute left per team. Tony
Yes.
Pollard, worried?
Yes.
Why? What happened? Is he just a year older? All the workload is too much?
I mean, I don't have an answer to what happened, but I just know that it's just not working. And their O line's good. Like their PFF grade is good. It's just not clicking there now. They might come out of the bye week and say, hey, we're going to establish it now and start doing, Dak under center, more running the ball that way. But if I took him at the 1-2 turn, I'm freaking pissed and I'm not excited.
Right. Giants, good game for Darren Waller. Giants, Jets, Sunday, maybe Daniel Jones back. Maybe it shouldn't matter. Jalen Hyatt is trending up.
Hyatt trending up. Maybe we don't want Daniel Jones back. Like maybe like Tyrod Taylor, Saquon Barkley's hitting, Waller's hitting, like Hyatt's, starting to trend up. Scored, I think, like 9 or 10 fantasy points last week. Like
2 for 75.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe we just want Tyrod Taylor in there.
Philadelphia, not much here. Cruising. I mean, everything is going well. Devontae Smith, a little bit of bouncing around, but Goddard too. I'm not worried about anything with Philadelphia.
Yeah, you're starting all your Eagles.
Washington, I think the most interesting name is maybe Chris Rodriguez.
Yes, that's your guy.
Yes. You continue to sort of force him into touches. I mean, it's just like such a depressingly inept organization and coaching staff. Like, I don't know what to do with Washington except for expecting Sam Howell to get sacked all the time.
I know.
But Rodriguez is a thing that makes me even Brian Robinson just not want to be on. He's an interesting name for a stash.
Yes, interesting name for a stash for sure. I mean, there's no reason to give him touches. He saw 39% of the carries last week, but there's no reason to do it. But they're doing it, so you might as well again pick him up, stash him. Maybe they like him. And listen, this was a guy you probably have a ton of him in best ball. You probably root for. This was one of your guys in the offseason. So, yeah. I mean, it's a mess there.
The Bulldog. He's on my Bulldog team. So is Pierre Strong. We're just getting started on that Bulldog team. We're rise from the dead. Need a play, though. Like a guy like that, you're just sort of waiting for one play. There are lots of these running backs the last few years where you sort of like, it sounds right, feels right. Are they going to get a chance? Then they do. You need a play. You need something to latch onto. Even like, not the best example, but Ty Chandler last night has that catch from Addison.
Yeah.
It gets stupidly called back by the ghost ref. Just a meaningless.
Yeah.
Hate this about football now, but at least you had a sort of a moment there, which, coaches can remember like, well, he did this.
Yeah.
And so need that from Rodriguez. Chicago learned a lesson on Deontay Foreman, the terrible outcome the week before. It's easy to forget about a guy like that. If you didn't forget, you were rewarded. Huge game last week. Yeah,
I have a little bit of Deontay Foreman. Man, I'm just every time I see Foreman carry the ball, I think, man, what would Roschon Johnson do? I'm such a Roschon Johnson guy. And to have the opportunity ripped from him now, if he finally comes back from this concussion this week, I don't think Foreman's going anywhere. I think he's just going to disappear. But, I mean, now it's going to be tough because you got two guys there. What do you do? If I've got Roschon and I'm desperate, I'm starting him and hoping that he gets the bulk of the carries.
Detroit, Gibbs, ended up huge. There's the jersey. Garbage time, though. Like, that was just like garbage time delight for Gibbs and St. Brown. What do you think about Gibbs as how startable is he? Is he like 100% or less than that if Montgomery misses again?
Oh, I definitely think garbage time started in like the second quarter in this game because it was such a blowout. But he looked good running between the tackles. He looked good running outside. They were creative in a lot of his targets. I went back and watched every Jahmyr Gibbs touch. They were creative in some of the screen passes that they were given to him. So it was nice to see some like kind of competent coaching there. The game just got off the rails early with Baltimore's offense just being sensational. But listen, Amon-Ra gets there. Gibbs got there. And I think Montgomery will miss another week. Gibbs another week off of the injury. So it'll be nice to see what he does there. But listen, 26 fantasy points or whatever it was, we'll take it.
They have the Raiders at home Monday night.
Beautiful.
Green Bay. What happened to Aaron Jones?
That's another one. They easing him back, coming off the bye, he doesn't really play. I know. Come on. He's old.
People.
He's probably old and he just probably isn't.
He's good.
He only played 34% of the snaps, so it's like he might be he might be a buy low guy, but I still think he doesn't look like Zeke did when he fell off a cliff. Like he still looks explosive, but They're super cautious with the injuries there in Green Bay. Normally, they don't even play guys that are banged up. And speaking of banged up, Christian Watson now on like the last play of the game or last drive gets banged up with his knee. So we'll see.
It's tough to say that, though. Like, he was excellent in the opener, came back, maybe a setback. You're losing 19-17 to Denver late. Like, this is your season.
I know.
How was Von Miller not on the field? How was Aaron Jones not on the field? Like, these games, late in the game, you got to get the guy out there. They have no one better. Minnesota, just Jordan Addison. I mean, the sort of the lucky touchdown before halftime, but there's your first-round rookie receiver who's really, I mean, Flowers has been fine, and the other guys, well, at least JSN have potential, but Addison, you got to love where you sit.
I had Addison in a main event. I needed 19 from Addison in the main event last night to win. I thought 25% maybe against the rabid Niners defense, and he comes out and scores. And then right before the half, I said, I was online playing AK Slickster was playing Call of Duty online last night. I said, I'd love one more garbage time catch before the half, just a little something. And bang, he breaks it off to win the game for me. That was nice. But he looks great. The route running is everything everybody expected from him. Hey, man, he might be an alpha one there. We have Jefferson. And the good thing for Jefferson owners is the team won against the Niners. They might be still relevant here in a couple of weeks, and Jefferson will be back.
Right. Minnesota in week 8. I'm going to find it really quick. At Green Bay. Let's go to the NFC South. Bijan Robinson. Can you go to jail for what happened there? Can you go to jail? I mean, no?
If he hasn't been in jail yet, he's never going to jail, the coach here. I mean, it's just I'm sure you have a very great Mike Shope take on this situation. You normally have a thoughtful. I'm just like, if he's hurt, how does he get the last carry of the game to set up for a field goal? Like, how is that? I have a headache. My head still hurts, but the coach ran me for no reason on the last play of the game. Like, I don't buy any of it. And then they don't report the injury. Like, you rolled your eyes at the coach walking out of the huddle and he freaking benched you and nobody knew about it. Like, it's so stupid. I hate this coach. I hate the Falcons.
He was on the field other times in this game too. I was watching into the second quarter and Robinson was split out. So I don't know. I feel like we're all being trolled by the Falcons.
Correct.
You should have to go. You should have to serve time for some of this behavior.
You should.
Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers is wide receiver 5. Where does he finish?
I think he finishes top 15. Top 15, I think. I think he hangs on. I'm interested to see what they do coming out of the bye with Frank Reich not calling plays. But I'd be surprised if you have a young quarterback with a guy that he was clicking with in the slot and they just stop going to him. So we'll see.
Carolina off a bye week, home to Houston and then Indianapolis the next 2 weeks, then at Chicago. So there is some scoring potential there. New Orleans, Alvin Kamara has 35 catches in 4 games for 38 yards, I think it is. I'm not sure if that's right. Is that for you sort of more, this is what they have to do because what they want to do isn't working, or is this what they want to do?
Might be both. There's something wrong. Like Olave there was something going on, with that game. Like Olave stopped running routes. Olave wasn't, I know your take on that. The ball was 8 yards out of bounds, but Olave does run the wrong route. And Carr's frustrated with his, with the game because he stunk. Carr stunk the first 3 quarters of that game. But I think like Waddle, I think we expected more out of Olave. Michael Thomas ends up getting a touchdown, but I think I like that they're passing to Kamara for them. Like, again, why smash him into the line of scrimmage when you can just, hey, if we want to run the ball, we'll just pitch it out to Kamara for a little 5-yarder, 7-yarder. But I think it's gonna continue, man. You can't. I suggested benching Kamara last week in my start-sit article. He didn't rush for very many yards at all. I wasn't expecting. What did he have? 15 catches or something? Like I wasn't expecting.
12, yeah. Okay. The thing about that play is Michael Thomas went on Instagram sort of explaining the read progression on that play. Like the ball should have never gone to Olave. So you've got unless I got duped by a fake account or something like this, but I feel like I'm reading Michael Thomas basically say, the quarterback was at fault on that play, and that's not great for your team. So
Yeah.
again, we'll cut it in post if it turns out all of this is sort of a fan doing the talking and not actually Michael Thomas. I would buy Mike Evans. I know he's 30, and I think Mayfield has sort of come back to reality there, but he's going to get his 1,000 yards. We knew it the whole time. He's already almost halfway there. He's got 1,000 yards every year, and they're going to be losing. I feel like Evans has had a really good start, and I think it continues.
He's had a great start. He's on pace for the second most yards of his career. Hall of Famer Mike Evans. Good for him. He deserves it.
Arizona, Kyler Murray. How much Kyler Murray do you have, and are you actively looking to add more?
I don't have a ton, but I've been the ones that I do have been adding here kind of slowly. This is a guy that, like, if you're 6-1, he's on waivers, go grab him, because if he's the guy there late in the season, James Conner comes back, the team looks better than we thought. Let's let Kyler Murray loose on a team if you have some average receivers, some average quarterbacks, and you're kind of struggling there.
There is a chance that works out. I like picking them up. The Rams question is the backfield, with Henderson and Freeman moving in. Zach Evans turned out to be a bust. And do you want to cut Zach Evans, A, and B? I still think Myles Gaskin could be the right answer.
I don't ever cut running backs, but he's third right now. When Kyron comes back, he'll be fourth. I'm interested to see why you think Myles Gaskin will be the answer.
Well, there's a history with the coach there, and I've always liked this player. And Henderson, okay, well, what our plays are. And Freeman might have been better than Henderson, but for me, if I'm the Rams, I lost that game to the Steelers, and I still want production there. So I think maybe it's plausible that they want to get Gaskin to be, I don't know, could he be the every down back? Well, Williams isn't big either. So right. I don't know, the other guys weren't that impressive. They've both sort of proven what their ceiling is, and it's low. Gaskin is somebody with, I think, a little bit more hope than that. So those are my reasons.
Yeah, my only thing every running back I think has been okay there. I have so much Kyron Williams. I just want him to have the job when he gets back. But it's also a good sign that Henderson put up 14 fantasy points, splitting the backfield with somebody else. I just think whoever's in the backfield there is going to score points. It's almost like San Francisco or Miami or something.
San Francisco, which you mentioned, I don't think anything for fantasy has really changed at all there. McCaffrey made it through. They've lost a couple games, so okay. But you kind of know that if Samuel is on the field with McCaffrey and Ayuk and Kittle, they're not all going to hit their ceiling. Samuel misses this game. Ayuk, better start than overall, but fine. Kittle, excellent. McCaffrey gets there too. I feel like they're still the same.
Is Christian McCaffrey the greatest fantasy player of all time? Jerry Rice might be, but the guy, just when he's healthy, he's 25 to 30 fantasy points every game. Panthers, Niners. It just doesn't matter. The guy's coming off an injury. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? And then he plays every snap, every single snap. The guy's incredible. Good for him.
He's either the greatest fantasy player of all time or Louis is. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. The greatest receiver in one game of all time by PFF grade, literally, is Jake Bobo.
Come on.
99.9 PFF grade, better than any receiver they've ever watched.
Oh, my God.
From this game. I think he is a thing.
Yeah. Even when, again, JSN has a fine day, but, did Bobo score?
Yes. An amazing catch.
Yes.
He played Metcalf's position.
Right.
Smith and Jigba played his usual position, which he got a couple in the first half and then nothing.
Yeah.
He had a drop too, I think. But
yeah,
Bobo was like Metcalf.
Bobo's like the Puka Nacua Light of the world. The guy he comes in, no one's thinking about him, and now here he is. That's stuff you can't predict when you're drafting JSN. You're like, man, JSN's definitely the third guy. They love throwing to Bobo. They freaking love it.
So true. Okay, well, that will be a wrap for week 8 in the deep end at Shope Talk, at Adam_Krautwurst, at Deep End FF1. I'm on WGR in Buffalo, 3 to 7 every weekday, including Bills pregame on Thursday for Bills Bucks, Thursday Night Football. I'll also be on the Shipcast with the boys on Thursday night for the second quarter of that game, which will be fun.
Nice.
Adam, anything you want to mention or no?
No, go Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, go. Everyone keep grinding waivers. Have fun out there. Tune into the right people. Tune into Shipcast. Tune into us. Tune into my show tomorrow night, Full Time Fantasy, and that's
yes. There you go. Also, The Bear would be a good show to tune into. It's an excellent show on Hulu. The Bear.
Ooh.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Check it out.
Okay, thanks for listening and watching, Mike and Adam. We'll see you next week. Thanks to the Player Profiler Network for having us as well. This is the Deep End. Good night.
See you guys.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.